The dust from the battle had finally settled on Kepler 442b. Sergeant Maria Santos walked through the temporary holding area, checking on the Zephyrian prisoners they had captured during yesterday's fight. The alien soldiers sat quietly in their containment cells, their blue-scaled skin still showing marks from the conflict. Maria had been a soldier for 8 years, but she had never gotten used to seeing prisoners of war. These Zephyrians looked so different from humans, yet she could see the same tired expressions in their large, dark eyes. They were soldiers, just like her. They had families waiting for them at home, just like she did, as she moved from cell to cell, checking that everyone had water and basic medical care. Something caught her attention. In the corner of the last cell, behind 3 adult Zephyrian soldiers, she saw something small moving. "What is that?" Maria asked herself, stepping closer to the energy barrier that kept the prisoners contained. The adult Zephyrians noticed her, interest, and quickly moved to block her view. But Maria was tall, and she could see over their shoulders. Her heart stopped when she realized what she was looking at. It was a child, a small Zephyrian child, no bigger than a human 5-year-old, was sitting on the floor. The little one had the same blue-scaled skin as the adults, but brighter and more colorful. Beautiful patterns in silver and gold decorated the child's scales, creating designs that looked like artwork. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," Maria called to her commanding officer. "We have a situation here." Rodriguez walked over, looking annoyed. "What now, Santos?" "There's a child in that cell," Maria said, pointing. Rodriguez looked where she was pointing and frowned. "So what?" "Probably just a soldier's kid who got caught up in the fighting. We'll process them with the adults." "Sir, that's not right," Maria said. "Children should not be in prison cells with soldiers, and look at those markings on the child's skin. I've never seen anything like that on regular Zephyrian soldiers." The lieutenant took a closer look. The child was wearing clothes that seemed too fancy for a common soldier's family. Even covered in dust and dirt from the battle, Maria could see that the fabric was expensive. The silver threads woven into the cloth caught the light in a way that seemed almost magical. "Fine," Rodriguez said. "Take the kid to the medical area. Check if it's hurt. Then we'll figure out what to do." Maria nodded and approached the cell. When she asked the guards to lower the energy barrier, the adult Zephyrians became very nervous. They spoke quickly to each other in their own language, which sounded like musical whispers to Maria's ears. "I just want to help the child," Maria said slowly, hoping they might understand some basic human words. One of the adult prisoners, an older female with scars on her arms, looked directly at Maria. The alien woman seemed to be studying Maria's face, as if trying to decide whether to trust her. Finally, the older Zephyrian woman nodded and said something to the child in their language. The little one looked up at Maria with curious eyes that seemed much too old for such a young face. Maria knelt down to make herself less frightening to the child. "Hello," she said softly. "My name is Maria. I want to help you." The child tilted. Their head, clearly not understanding the words but seeming to recognize the gentle tone. Slowly, the little one stood up and walked toward Maria. What happened next surprised everyone in the room. As Maria reached out her hand, the child took it without fear. But more shocking was what the adult prisoners did. All 3 of them bowed their heads and placed their hands over their hearts in what looked like a gesture of deep respect. Maria felt a chill run down her spine. Common soldiers did not bow to other soldiers' children. This was something else entirely. "Come on, little one," Maria said, carefully leading the child out of the cell. "Let's get you cleaned up and find you something to eat." The medical area was quiet, except for a few human soldiers getting treatment for minor injuries. Maria found a corner where she could sit with the child away from the noise and activity. The child was clearly hungry and thirsty. Maria opened a ration pack and offered some water. The little one ate carefully, as if they had been taught proper manners. Even while hungry, the child did not grab the food or drink too quickly. As the child ate, Maria studied the intricate patterns on their skin more carefully. The silver and gold markings were not painted or tattooed. They seemed to be natural, growing from within the scales themselves. Maria had seen many Zephyrian prisoners over the years, but she had never seen markings like these. The child's clothes, now that Maria could see them better, were definitely not ordinary. The fabric was soft and expensive, and the silver threads formed symbols that looked important. Around the child's neck was a small pendant that seemed to glow with its own light. "Who are you, little one?" Maria whispered. The child looked up at her and tried to say something in the Zephyrian language. When Maria looked confused, the child tried again, this time making gestures with their small hands. Maria watched carefully and realized the child was trying to tell her something important. The gestures seemed to involve pointing to the pendant, then to themselves, then making a sweeping motion with their arms. Suddenly, Maria's blood ran cold. She had studied enough about Zephyrian culture to recognize some of their basic symbols. The pendant around the child's neck bore the same design she had seen in intelligence reports about the Zephyrian royal family. Her hands began to shake as the truth hit her. This was not just any child. The intricate natural markings, the expensive clothes, the way the prisoners had bowed, the royal pendant, it all made terrible sense. She was holding Princess Kira, daughter of Queen Lysera, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire. Maria looked around the medical area, making sure no one was watching them. If the other soldiers discovered who this child really was, it would change everything. Some would want to use the child as a weapon against the Zephyrians. Others might see the child as too dangerous to keep alive. The little princess seemed to sense Maria's worry. She reached out and gently touched Maria's face, then said something soft in her own language. Even without understanding the words, Maria could hear the trust in the child's voice. Maria made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She would keep the child's identity secret until she could figure out the right thing to do. Looking into those innocent, trusting eyes, Maria knew that some things were more important than war. Some things were more important than being a soldier. Sometimes being human meant choosing to protect the innocent, no matter what the cost. 3 star systems away from Kepler 442b, Queen Lysera stood in her throne room, staring at the holographic display that showed the latest battle reports. The crystalline walls of her palace reflected her image thousands of times, each reflection showing the same expression of growing worry. Her military commander, General Thane, approached with careful steps. His blue scales had turned darker with stress, and his usually proud posture was bent with the weight of bad news. "Your Majesty," General Thane said, bowing low, "I have received the final reports from the reconnaissance mission to the human colony world." Queen Lysera turned to face him. Her own scales shimmered with patterns of silver and gold, much like her daughter's, but these were earned through years of wisdom and leadership. "Tell me, General, how many of our people did we lose?" 12 soldiers were captured, Your Majesty. The rest of the reconnaissance team was able to escape. General Thane paused, and his scales flickered with a color that meant deep sadness, in Zephyrian body language. "What are you not telling me?" the Queen asked, her voice becoming dangerously quiet. General Thane's head dropped lower. "Your Majesty, Princess Kira was with the reconnaissance team. She wanted to see the outer worlds, to learn about our enemies. Captain Vex tried to keep her safe, but during the battle..." The Queen's scales suddenly blazed with bright red patterns that covered her entire body. The air in the throne room began to vibrate with her emotional energy. "Where is my daughter?" "We believe she was captured with the other prisoners, Your Majesty." The sound that came from Queen Lysera was not quite a scream and not quite a roar. It was something deeper, more primal. The crystalline walls of the palace began to crack from the psychic energy she released. Every Zephyrian in the capital city felt their queen's anguish as a physical pain in their hearts. "Prepare the war fleets," Queen Lysera commanded, her voice now deadly calm. "I want every ship we have ready for battle within the hour." "Your Majesty," General Thane said carefully, "perhaps we should first attempt to negotiate for the prisoners' release. The humans might be willing to—" "Negotiate?" The Queen's eyes blazed with inner fire. "They have taken my child, General, my only daughter. There will be no negotiation. There will be only war." Meanwhile, back on Kepler 442b, Maria was facing her own difficult situation. She had managed to keep Princess Kira's identity secret for 2 days, but it was becoming harder. With each passing hour, the child had been staying in the medical area, officially listed as unidentified minor prisoner. Maria had volunteered to take care of the child during her off-duty hours, claiming it was standard protocol for handling young prisoners. During those quiet hours together, Maria and Princess Kira had begun to communicate in simple ways. The princess was very intelligent and learned basic human words quickly. Maria taught her words like water, food, safe, and friend. In return, the princess taught Maria some Zephyrian words, though Maria found the musical language difficult to pronounce. Through drawings in the dirt and simple gestures, Princess Kira had told Maria about her home. She drew pictures of crystal towers that touched the sky and gardens filled with plants that glowed like stars. She drew pictures of her mother, always with a crown of light around her head. Maria's heart broke a little more each time the princess asked about going home. The child would point to the sky and say, "Mama," in her own language, her large eyes filled with hope that someone would take her back to her family. But Maria knew the truth was much more complicated than the innocent child could understand. The third day, Maria's worst fears came true. Lieutenant Rodriguez approached her while she was teaching the princess how to say "thank you" in human language. "Santos," Rodriguez said, "Command wants to see you about the alien kid." Maria felt her stomach drop. "What about her, sir?" "Intelligence has been analyzing the prisoner records. They think this kid might be someone important. They want to question her." Maria looked down at Princess Kira, who was playing with a simple toy that Maria had made from spare medical supplies. The child looked so small and innocent. The thought of military intelligence officers questioning her made Maria feel sick. "Sir, she's just a child," Maria said. "She doesn't know anything about military operations. That's not for us to decide," Rodriguez replied. "Report to command in 1 hour. Bring the kid." After Rodriguez left, Maria sat down next to the princess. The child could sense something was wrong and climbed onto Maria's lap, looking up at her with worried eyes. "It's okay, little one," Maria whispered, even though she knew it wasn't okay at all. An hour later, Maria stood outside the command center with Princess Kira holding her hand. Through the door, she could hear voices discussing strategic advantages and psychological warfare. The words made her feel cold inside. When they entered the room, Maria saw several high-ranking officers gathered around a table covered with documents and star charts. Commander Hayes, the base commander, looked up when they walked in. "Ah, Santos, and this must be our little mystery guest." Commander Hayes studied Princess Kira with calculating eyes. "Intelligence believes this child might be connected to Zephyrian royalty. If that's true, she could be very valuable to us." Princess Kira pressed closer to Maria, clearly frightened by all the strange humans staring at her. Maria put a protective arm around the child's shoulders. "What kind of valuable, sir?" Maria asked, though she was afraid she already knew the answer. "The kind that could end this war quickly," Commander Hayes said with a cold smile. "The Zephyrians value their children highly. If we have someone important enough, we might be able to force their surrender." Maria felt her heart racing. "Sir, she's just a child. Using her as a weapon would be smart military strategy," Commander Hayes interrupted. "We've been fighting this war for 3 years, Santos. If this child can help us win it, then that's what she'll do." Maria looked down at Princess Kira, who was trying to hide behind Maria's legs. The child was trembling with fear, even though she couldn't understand the human words being spoken about her. At that moment, Maria realized that keeping the princess's identity secret was no longer enough. The humans were going to use this innocent child as a tool of war, regardless of who she was. And somewhere across the galaxy, Queen Lysara was probably preparing to destroy human worlds to get her daughter back. Maria made a decision that would change everything. She would find a way to get Princess Kira home to her mother, even if it meant betraying her own species. Some things were more important than winning wars. Some things were more important than following orders. Sometimes being human meant choosing love over victory. Maria could not sleep that night. She kept thinking about the meeting with Commander Hayes and the cold way he had looked at Princess Kira. The child was now sleeping peacefully in the medical area, curled up on a small cot that Maria had made, as comfortable as possible. The next morning brought terrible news. Maria was called to another meeting, this time with even more officers present. When she entered the room, she saw a large screen showing what looked like a broadcast setup. "Santos," Commander Hayes said, "we've decided to move forward with our psychological warfare plan. We're going to record a message showing our prisoner and broadcast it to the Zephyrian fleet." Maria felt her blood turn cold. "Sir, what kind of message?" "The kind that will make Queen Lysara think twice about attacking our colonies," the commander replied. "We want the Zephyrians to see that we have something precious of theirs. It should make them more willing to negotiate." Colonel Martinez, the intelligence officer, stepped forward. "We've confirmed it, Santos. That child is Princess Kira, daughter of Queen Lysara. Having her gives us enormous power over the Zephyrian Empire." Maria's hands clenched into fists. "Sir, she's just a scared little girl. Broadcasting her image like this will only make Queen Lysara angrier. It might make the war worse, not better." "That's not your concern, Sergeant," Commander Hayes said firmly. "Your job is to keep the child calm during the recording. We need her to look healthy and unharmed." After the meeting, Maria walked slowly back to the medical area. Princess Kira was awake, playing with the simple toys that Maria had made for her. When she saw Maria, the child smiled and ran to hug her legs. "Maria, friend," Princess Kira said in careful human words. She had been learning more each day. "Yes, little one. Maria is your friend," Maria replied, kneeling down to the child's level. Over the past few days, Princess Kira had taught Maria more about Zephyrian culture. Through pictures and gestures, the child had explained that Zephyrian mothers and children shared a special connection. They could feel each other's emotions and health, even across great distances. Princess Kira had shown Maria how she could make her scales glow when she was happy, but lately, the patterns had been getting dimmer. The child was becoming sick from being separated from her mother for so long. "Mama far," Princess Kira had said sadly that morning, pointing to her heart. "Hurt here." Maria had realized then that this separation was not just emotionally painful. For both mother and child, it was physically harmful too. Princess Kira was growing weaker each day, and somewhere across the galaxy, Queen Lysara was probably suffering the same way. That afternoon, Maria overheard 2 officers talking about the broadcast plan. What she heard made her feel sick to her. "Stomach! We'll broadcast the recording to all Zephyrian frequencies," one officer was saying. "Let Queen Lysara see her daughter in human hands. That should break her spirit." "And if she doesn't surrender?" the other officer asked. "Then we make another recording. Maybe show the kid looking a little more scared next time. Eventually the queen will break." Maria had to excuse herself and go outside to breathe fresh air. The thought of deliberately frightening Princess Kira to manipulate her mother was something Maria could not accept. That evening, Maria sat with Princess Kira as the child ate her dinner. The princess was moving more slowly than usual, and her natural glow was getting dimmer. "Are you feeling sick, little one?" Maria asked gently. Princess Kira nodded sadly. "Mama's sick too. I feel here," she said, touching her chest where her heart was. Maria realized that Queen Lysara was probably experiencing the same physical and emotional pain. No wonder the Zephyrian queen was preparing for war. She was not just angry, she was suffering terribly. That night, Maria made a decision that would change her life forever. She could not let the military use this innocent child as a weapon. She could not watch Princess Kira get sicker while her mother suffered across the galaxy. Maria began planning something that would make her a traitor to her own species. She started by studying the base's security systems and shift schedules. As a sergeant, she had access to many areas that regular soldiers could not enter. She knew where the shuttles were kept and how the launch systems worked. Maria also began talking quietly to other soldiers who had spent time with Princess Kira. She was not surprised to learn that many of them felt uncomfortable with the plan to use the child for psychological warfare. Corporal Chen, who worked in the shuttle bay, had brought Princess Kira small toys made from spare parts. "It's not right," he told Maria quietly. "She's just a baby. This isn't what I signed up for when I became a soldier." Private Williams, who helped in the medical area, had taught Princess Kira how to sing a simple human lullaby. "My little sister is about the same age," she said. "I keep thinking about how scared she would be if she was taken from our family." Sergeant Parker, who had been a soldier for 15 years, shook his head when Maria asked him about the broadcast plan. "I've fought in 3 wars," he said, "but I've never hurt a child to win one. I'm not starting now." Slowly, carefully, Maria began to put together a plan. She would need a shuttle, enough fuel to reach neutral space, and a way to contact the Zephyrian fleet. Most importantly, she would need to get Princess Kira off the base without anyone stopping them. The night before the scheduled broadcast, Maria made her final preparations. She had found a way to send a message on Zephyrian frequencies, though she was not sure if anyone would receive it or believe it. She sat with Princess Kira in the quiet medical area, teaching the child a few more human words. The princess was very weak now, her scales barely glowing at all. "Tomorrow, little one," Maria whispered. "I'm going to take you home to your mama." Princess Kira looked up at Maria with tired but hopeful eyes. "Mama?" she asked. "Yes," Maria promised. "Mama." Maria knew that what she was planning would end her military career. She might be arrested or even executed for treason. But looking at the sick, frightened child in her arms, Maria knew she had no choice. Some things were more important than duty. Some things were more important than following orders. Sometimes being human meant risking everything to do what was right. As the base settled into sleep around them, Maria held Princess Kira and made one final promise to herself. Tomorrow she would either save this child's life or die trying. In the distance, alarms would soon begin to sound. But tonight, for a few more hours, a human soldier and an alien princess sat together in peace, connected by something stronger than war. They were connected by love. At Oro 300 hours, while most of the base was asleep, Maria carefully lifted Princess Kira from her small bed. The child was so weak now that she barely woke up, just making a soft sound and curling against Maria's shoulder. "Shh, little one," Maria whispered. "We're going home to Mama." Maria had spent hours planning this escape. She knew the guard rotations, the security camera positions, and exactly when the shuttle bay would have the fewest people watching. Corporal Chen had left a maintenance access code where she could find it, and Sergeant Parker had made sure he would be the one watching the security monitors during the early morning shift. Moving through the base's corridors like a shadow, Maria carried the sleeping princess toward the shuttle bay. Her heart was beating so fast she was sure everyone could hear it, but she forced herself to walk calmly and quietly. When she reached the shuttle bay, Maria saw that Corporal Chen had prepared everything just as he had promised. A small transport shuttle was fueled and ready with basic life support supplies loaded in the back. There was even a small medical kit and some food suitable for Zephyrian children. "Thank you," Maria whispered to the empty shuttle bay, knowing that Chen was probably watching from somewhere nearby. Getting Princess Kira settled in the shuttle took only a few minutes. Maria had made a soft bed using spare blankets, and the child curled up there without fully waking. Even in sleep, Princess Kira reached out and held on to Maria's hand. Starting the shuttle's engines was the most dangerous part. The sound would definitely wake people and trigger alarms. Maria had only a few minutes to get off the base before security forces would try to stop her. As the engines came to life, alarms immediately began blaring throughout the base. Red lights flashed, and Maria could hear voices shouting orders over the communication system. "All units, we have an unauthorized shuttle launch. Repeat, unauthorized shuttle launch in progress." Maria pushed the engines to maximum power and lifted off into the dark sky. Behind her, she could see lights coming on all over the base as soldiers rushed to their positions. "Shuttle Alpha 7, return to base immediately," came Commander Hayes' voice over the radio. "Santos, I know it's you. Turn around now and we might go easy on you." Maria turned off the radio and focused on flying. She had studied the star charts for weeks, planning the safest route to reach neutral space where she could contact the Zephyrian fleet. Within minutes, she saw the first pursuit ships launching behind her. Military interceptors were much faster than her transport shuttle, but Maria had one advantage. She had planned her route through an asteroid field that the bigger ships would have trouble navigating. "Hold on, Princess," Maria said, even though the child was still sleeping. "This is going to get bumpy." Flying through the asteroid field was like threading a needle while riding a wild horse. Maria had to use all her piloting skills to dodge the floating rocks while maintaining enough speed to stay ahead of her pursuers. The first interceptor that followed her into the field was not so lucky. Maria heard the explosion behind her and felt sick to her stomach. That pilot had probably been someone she knew, maybe even someone she had served with for years. But when she looked down at Princess Kira, Maria knew she had made the right choice. The child was so weak now that her breathing was shallow and her scales had lost almost all their natural glow. "Stay with me, little one," Maria whispered. "Your mama is looking for you." Hours passed as Maria navigated through space, constantly changing course to avoid pursuit ships. Her fuel was running low, and the shuttle's life support systems were working at maximum capacity. Finally, when Maria was beginning to think she might not make it, her long-range sensors picked up something that made her heart race with hope. A group of ships was approaching from the direction of Zephyrian space. Maria quickly activated the emergency communication system and began broadcasting on all Zephyrian frequencies, using the simple words that Princess Kira had taught her. "Zephyrian ships, this is human soldier Maria Santos. I have Princess Kira. She is sick. She needs her mama. Please help." For several terrifying minutes, there was no response. Maria kept repeating her message, hoping that someone would understand her terrible pronunciation of the Zephyrian language. Then finally a voice responded in accented but clear human language. "Human ship. This is Captain Vex of the Zephyrian Royal Guard. You claim to have Princess Kira?" "Yes," Maria replied, relief flooding through her. "She is very sick. The separation from Queen Lysara is hurting her. I am bringing her home." There was a long pause before Captain Vex responded. "Human soldier, why would you do this? Your people are our enemies." Maria looked down at Princess Kira, who had finally woken up and was looking around with confused, frightened eyes. The child was so weak she could barely lift her head. "Because she is just a child," Maria said into the radio. Because every child deserves to be with their mother. Because some things are more important than war. Another voice came over the radio, and Maria's heart nearly stopped when she realized who it was. The voice was filled with such pain and hope that it made Maria want to cry. "Human soldier," Queen Lysara said, "if you truly have my daughter, if you are truly bringing her home, then you have given me back my life." "Your Majesty," Maria replied, "Princess Kira has been very brave, but she needs you. She has been asking for Mama every day." Through the shuttle's view screen, Maria could see the Zephyrian ships approaching. The lead ship was magnificent, with a hull that seemed to be made of living crystal. Beautiful patterns of light moved across its surface like waves on an ocean. "That's Mama's ship," Princess Kira whispered, her voice so weak that Maria could barely hear her. But for the first time in days, the child's scales began to show a faint glow. As the two groups of ships came closer together, Maria saw human pursuit ships arriving on the other side of the asteroid field. She was caught between two fleets that had been at war for years. But something amazing happened. Instead of preparing for battle, both fleets seemed to be waiting. Even the human ships had stopped their pursuit and were hanging back, as if everyone understood that something more important than war was happening. Princess Kira struggled to sit up and look out the window at her mother's ship. "Mama, close," she whispered, and her scales grew a little brighter. For the first time since this adventure began, Maria allowed herself to hope that everything might actually work out. She was about to reunite a mother and child, and maybe, just maybe, she was about to help end a war. The space between the two fleets was completely silent, except for the soft hum of ship engines. Maria's small shuttle floated in the middle, carrying the most precious cargo in the galaxy. Through her view screen, she could see both human and Zephyrian ships waiting, their weapons powered down but ready. Princess Kira was awake now, pressing her small face against the window as she looked at her mother's beautiful ship. The royal vessel was like nothing Maria had ever seen. Its crystal hull sparkled with patterns of light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "Mama's ship," Princess Kira whispered, her voice filled with wonder and hope. Captain Vex's voice came, over the radio again. "Human soldier Maria Santos, Queen Lysara wishes to speak with you before we proceed." A moment later, Queen Lysara's voice filled the shuttle. Even through the radio, Maria could hear the deep emotion the alien queen was feeling. "Maria Santos," Queen Lysara said, "I want to look upon the face of the human who has saved my child's life." Maria activated the video communication system. On her screen appeared the most beautiful and majestic being she had ever seen. Queen Lysara's scales shimmered with patterns of gold and silver, and her large eyes held both ancient wisdom and a mother's desperate love. When Queen Lysara saw Princess Kira in Maria's arms, the queen's emotional response was so powerful that every Zephyrian in her fleet felt it. The lights on all the Zephyrian ships began to pulse brighter, responding to their queen's overwhelming relief and joy. "My precious daughter," Queen Lysara whispered, tears flowing down her face. Maria was amazed to see that the queen's tears glowed with soft blue light. Princess Kira reached toward the screen with her small hands. "Mama! Mama! I hear!" "Yes, my darling," Queen Lysara replied, her voice breaking with emotion. "Mama is here. You are safe now." Queen Lysara turned her attention back to Maria. "Human soldier, why did you risk everything to bring my daughter home? Your own people will call you a traitor." Maria looked down at Princess Kira, who was now glowing brighter than she had in days just from seeing her mother's face. "Your Majesty, I did it because it was right. Because she is just a child who needed her mother. Because some things are more important than war." The queen studied Maria's face for a long moment. "You have shown me something I did not think existed. In humans, You have shown me compassion that crosses the boundaries between species. You have shown me love. At that moment, Commander Hayes's voice broke into the communication. His ship had arrived with the human pursuit fleet. Santos, you are under arrest for treason and theft of military property. Surrender immediately. Before Maria could respond, Queen Lysara's voice rang out with royal authority that made everyone listening feel its power. Commander Hayes of the human fleet, I am Queen Lysara of the Zephyrian Empire. This human soldier has committed no crime. She has performed the greatest act of honor I have ever witnessed. Your Majesty, Commander Hayes replied stiffly, that soldier is a traitor to her own species. She must face justice. No, Queen Lysara said firmly. She must be honored. Captain Vex, prepare the docking tube. I want to meet this remarkable human face to face. Within minutes, a beautiful docking tube extended from the Zephyrian royal ship to Maria's small shuttle. As the two vessels connected, Maria felt her hands shaking with nervousness. Come, little one, Maria said to Princess Kira. Time to go home to Mama. Princess Kira was too weak to walk, so Maria carried her through the docking tube. The inside of the Zephyrian ship was like walking through a crystal cathedral. Everything glowed with soft, natural light, and the walls seemed to sing with gentle, musical tones. Queen Lysara was waiting in a beautiful chamber filled with plants that sparkled like jewels. When she saw Maria carrying her daughter, the queen's scales blazed with patterns of pure joy. My daughter, Queen Lysara said, reaching out her arms. Princess Kira looked up at Maria one last time. Thank you, Maria, friend, she said in her careful, human words. Then Princess Kira ran into her mother's arms. The moment mother and daughter embraced, something magical happened. Both of their scales began to glow brighter and brighter, until the entire chamber was filled with warm, golden light. Maria could actually feel the love and healing energy flowing between them. As Maria watched, Princess Kira's health began to return almost immediately. Her scales regained their beautiful colors, her breathing became stronger, and her eyes grew bright with happiness. Queen Lysara held her daughter close and looked at Maria with tears still glowing on her face. Maria Santos, you have given me back my life. You have shown me that there is hope for peace between our peoples. I just did what any mother would want someone to do for their child, Maria said simply. Queen Lysara stood, still holding Princess Kira, and walked over to Maria. In our culture, there is a highest honor we can give. It is called soul friend, reserved for those who show the deepest virtues of compassion and sacrifice. The queen reached out and touched Maria's forehead with her free hand. I name you soul friend Maria Santos. You are forever welcome in Zephyrian space, forever protected by our people, forever honored in our history. Princess Kira reached out from her mother's arms and hugged Maria tightly. Maria, best friend, she said happily. Through the ship's communication system, Queen Lysara's voice was broadcast to both fleets. Let it be known throughout the galaxy that this human soldier, Maria Santos, has shown us that love is stronger than hate, that compassion is stronger than fear, and that peace is possible between different peoples. Commander Hayes's voice came over the radio, but now it sounded different. Less angry, more thoughtful. Santos, return to your shuttle. We need to discuss what happens next. As Maria prepared to leave the Zephyrian ship, Queen Lysara gave her a small crystal pendant. This will let you contact us any time. When you are ready, come visit us. Princess Kira would love to show you her home. Walking back through the docking tube, Maria felt different than she had ever felt before. She had risked everything, and she had saved a life. More than that, she had possibly helped start the journey toward peace. When she reached her shuttle, Maria found something surprising waiting for her. Instead of arrest warrants, there were messages from all over human space. The story of her rescue mission had somehow spread, and millions of humans were calling her a hero. As the fleets began to separate, both sides moving back to their own territories, Maria realized that everything had changed. The war was not over yet, but something new had begun. Princess Kira's voice came over the radio one last time. "Bye-bye, Maria friend. Come visit soon." Maria smiled as she began the journey, back to human space. She had learned something important about being human. Sometimes the greatest victories came not from fighting, but from choosing love over fear, compassion over hatred, and hope over despair. In the years that followed, that moment of reunion would be remembered as the beginning of peace between humans and Zephyrians, and it all started with one soldier who chose to see a mother's love instead of a military advantage. Some stories end with great battles. This one ended with a hug that changed the galaxy.